Can Steve Sarkisian lead Texas to its first national championship in the college football playoff era and its first national championship since 2005? That's damn near 20 years ago. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. Welcome to Adapt and Respond with me, RJ Young. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, please consider hitting that subscribe button and like this video and answer the question in the comments below. Do you think Steve Sarkisian can lead Texas to a national championship in the year of our Lord 2025? This is a conversation that we're going to have throughout the rest of the summer and probably into the college football season, as Texas is playing one of the marquee matchup games of the non-conference weekend, going into Labor Day weekend, our biggest regular season weekend every single year, against the Ohio State Buckeyes in Columbus. And already there's been so much going on around this game, from who the starting quarterbacks will be to who the playmakers you expect to be actually having something to say in the game, to just when the game is going to kick off. And I think all of this is building toward what we have come to understand about a Steve Sarkisian football team since 2020, honestly, when he took this job in 2021. They expect to play for championships. They expect to win championships. They expect to be there at the end. And if the last 2 years are any indication, that's exactly what has been going on. With Quinn Ewers at quarterback, you win the Big 12 championship, you make the college football playoff. With Quinn Ewers at quarterback, you make the SEC championship and you get the 5 seed in the college football playoff in the first 12-team playoff that we have. I also think it's worth unpacking what the 5 seed meant in 2024 and what it's likely to mean in 2025. So when we created the college football playoff and expanded it to 12 teams, we had 5 power conferences. So the idea was that the highest ranked champions were, going to get those spots, and then we're going to let the group of 5 champion get a bid, and we're going to fill out the rest of the field. But between the formation of the 12-team playoff in last year's seeding model, we had the consolidation of the Pac-12 being divvied up, right, to Oregon, Washington, USC joining the Big Ten, to Oklahoma, Texas joining the SEC, and we get an 18-team Big Ten. We get a 16-team SEC. We get a bloated ACC that even has Cal and Stanford in it, and we get a Big 12 that's got 16 teams in it as well. What that meant was you get to be Notre Dame, or you get to be the unfair advantage of having lost a conference championship game, but still be one of the 5 seeds and get the home game. I had been very loud about this last year. I would have much rather had the 5 seed than get a first round bye, because last year in particular, you were going to be one of the first programs in the sport to host a home playoff game. And there is no sport with a bigger home field advantage than college football. That is when we as fans get to show up and give everybody the what for and the how now. You're going to feel us at a game of this magnitude. A great example of this would have been Texas, where they boat raced Clemson, right? But I think a better example of this is Ohio State versus Tennessee. Tennessee expected to show up to the shoe and turn it orange. That's not what happened. A lot of yada yammering, a lot of talking from SEC fans over there who were talking about coming up north and showing the Buckeyes what real football is like, and then they got patted on the behind and carved up one side down the other, sent back down to the Rockies, to Smokey. And Smokey needed to figure out who his starting quarterback is going to be going into the 2025 season, because it turns out that was just an indicator of what was coming for Tennessee. Nico Iamaleava, not there anymore, right? He's at UCLA. Yeah, we're still trying to figure out how real it is that they're planning to go with the backups for Nico Iamaleava or Joey Aguilar, right? I think Joey Aguilar's got a shot here to make some noise and perhaps be found money for Tennessee. But do I expect him to be better than Arch Manning? Absolutely not. DJ Lagway? No. Garrett Nussmeier? No. Ty Simpson? No. John Mateer? Absolutely not. That said, we're talking about what Texas might be able to do in a league that they just joined, and they joined it with a vengeance, right? I kept saying Quinn Ewers led Texas to these championship games and winning one in particular with the Big 12, and then winning, college football playoff game 1 and 2 to get them into the semifinals against an Ohio State team that ends up winning the national championship. They also got the home game at DKR, which didn't hurt anybody's pocketbook down there. So now you have the quarterback of quarterbacks in our sport right now in Arch Manning, a legacy of a legacy, right? We got Archie Manning, who is royalty in New Orleans. We've got his uncles, Peyton and Eli, who are royalty in New Orleans and across college football, across the NFL. And now we've got Arch Manning, who seems to be a coach's wet dream of quarterback. I don't care about name, image, and likeness. I don't care that I have to wait for my opportunity and my turn to play. I just want to play. And when I do play, I set the world on fire. Comes in relief of Quinn Ewers and puts together 5 TDs. I mean, he had 75-yard passing touchdown, 50-yard passing touchdown, and a 67-yard rushing touchdown for TD. Only player in the NFL or FBS the last 20 years to accomplish that feat. I don't care that it's against UTSA. I care that he was able to come off the bench and make it happen. Against Mississippi State, when Quinn Ewers was out again, he also threw for 300 yards and was really efficient, right? Didn't have the kind of offensive performance in the end zone that you would expect, but as a dude that is expected to ascend into the Heisman conversation, probably go into this year as the Heisman frontrunner, it's a lot, right? It's a lot. He's also going to have Ryan Wingo out there that you expect to make plays. We got to see DeAndre Moore come on. He's going to get Cedric Baxter back. He's going to get Christian Clark back to add to Quintravion Wisner, who is also no slouch back there, along with Jared Gibson. Do they lose Kelvin Banks to the offensive line? Yeah, but the offensive line was decent when he was hurt, and it'll probably be decent going into this year. Now you get an Ohio State team that has won the national championship and returns a bunch of really good pieces, but loses about more than 2 dozen starters on both sides of the ball, including Emeka Egbuka, who is the career receptions leader at Ohio State and had been one of the better wide receivers in the country every year that he'd been at Ohio State. And you're going to have 2 new tailbacks back there. Like, I'm really excited to see what James Peoples can do and what C.J. Donaldson can do now that Travion Henderson and Q Judkins are in the NFL. And then, of course, you got the Martian out there and Jeremiah Smith, who is really going to be the biggest X factor. He's going to be the biggest playmaker that you have to stop in this game if you're Pete Kwiatkowski. You've also got tape of this team. I don't expect the offense to change that much for Ohio State with Bryant Hartline as the offensive coordinator and the play caller, or with Julian Sayin, we think, as the starting quarterback, though Lincoln Keenholz might have something to say about that, say nothing to Tavian St. Clair. I do think that Texas is going to have the edge here because Arch knows what he is expected to do in Steve Sarkisian's system, and Steve Sarkisian is one of the 5 best play callers in our sport, full stop. I think when you're putting together the veteran look of the team and you're asking which quarterback you expect to outperform the other, you got to go with Arch Manning, right? Julian Sayin is an outstanding talent. So good that after Jalen Milroe got benched, all anybody could talk about was they wish Julian Sayin was in Tuscaloosa that year so they could play him. Turned out Jalen Milroe was always going to be the guy, and he got them back to the college football playoff after beating Georgia in the SEC championship game. As much as people want to dunk on Jalen Milroe, he got him in back-to-back years, and he was outstanding. When that dude was on, he was on. What if you get that kind of play from Arch Manning without turnovers? Well, you'd have Jaden Daniels, right? You'd have a 3,800-yard passer and an 1,100-yard rusher, and that's remarkable. You'd also have a guy that everybody wants to get behind, a guy that is sponsored by Red Bull. There's only one other player in the country that is sponsored by Red Bull, and it's Jeremiah Smith. So you're going to have 2 Red Bull athletes out there making plays, and neither one of those guys want for money. Both of those guys work really hard. Both of those guys are super talented. I think after that game, then we're going to figure out what Texas is really about because they're going to play a tough SEC schedule. And every SEC program, even Vanderbilt now, can give you a hard time. Mississippi State can give you a hard time. Auburn can give you a hard time. And then it's on from there. Oklahoma can give you a hard time. We'll find out just how good Oklahoma is against Michigan and whether or not Michigan is for real. But I think between those 2 games, Texas and Ohio State, Michigan and Oklahoma, you're going to have 4 great football teams and 2 great rivalries that get to measure up against each other as cross opponent, right? If you're Ohio State, you're probably going to watch Oklahoma and root against Michigan. If you are an Oklahoma fan, you're probably going to watch Ohio State, Texas and root for Ohio State over Texas. That makes all the sense in the world to me. If those 4 teams made the college football playoff, all of us would be excited about it. But the odds of Michigan and Oklahoma getting there are very, very long. Texas and Ohio State could be the first time that we see 2 out-of-conference teams match up one more time in the 12-team playoff. And it could be with 1 at home and 1 away. It could be at a neutral site. Could be both as conference champions. It's in a year where conference championships don't really matter as much as they used to. Yeah. I don't know that this is the year that Texas can do it. But I submit to you, I don't know that they're going to have a better opportunity to win one than they do right now. And if nothing else, that should mean pressure cooker is on.